Hey guys, I'm gonna lose my mind. This is the 101st time that I'm filming this video. I'm Shay. Today's video is going to be about toxic masculinity. If you're a man, if you feel like being a man is hard, you're tired, no one understands you, the world is against you, you're all alone, these videos are definitely for you, this series. So it's going to be split into 4 parts. First being what is toxic masculinity. Number 2 is how is it caused, what is the dominant mentality behind this sort of ideology. Third is what is the impact of it on the world, on men. And fourthly, how do we go about healing from toxic masculinity? Alright, so let's get into it. It's important to understand what is meant by masculinity first. Masculinity is a set of social and psychological traits that are associated with men, biological men. It may or may not be relevant to a man, but it's just what society expects from men. In fact, women can also have these masculine traits, and men can also have feminine traits, but it's this sort of rigid gendered mentality that society has, which is that men have to be a certain way. Okay, so once we have established this, it's also important to understand that the expectation from men to be masculine was never to harm men, but rather to encourage men to become protectors and leaders, and because we've always had men on the forefront of every sort of battle. But as humanity evolved, the need for masculinity to be on steroids all the time has reduced significantly. We're not savages anymore, and the average man does not need to be as riled up or as hulked up as when we needed men to be like sort of protecting us all the time. Naturally, I'm not talking about soldiers, and I do speak from a point of privilege because I don't live in a war-torn region. But yeah, the average man does not need to be hulked up. Right, and so now it doesn't benefit men anymore. It's become oppressive. And toxic masculinity is a maladapted form of masculinity, which is to say that it is not adjusted for the current scenario. I mean, think of it like a lot of us are office workers, a lot of us are, we don't have a lot of physical labor. So a lot of our requirements in our urban spaces have changed. And being hyper masculine everywhere just is maladaptive. It's disproportionate to the reality that we live in right now. But the impact of it is negative. Is net negative, right? Alright, so it starts all the way from the first impression. When we're talking about like a worthy or an ideal man, we're always looking for like sort of optics based traits, like he should be, these are the default traits that we expect from men, we've grown to expect from men. Men are sort of expected to exude the strong, intense, dominant body language. He should be strong, he should be fit, he should have really great features, really male features. His voice should be strong, his hair should be really thick, his beard should be like a full beard, right? We even make fun of men who have like who don't grow beards well, who naturally don't have the best beards. He should be hot, he should be sexy, etc. We're also expecting men to be leaders, assertive. This is the default, right? Charismatic, confident. He should be rich, powerful, courageous, brave, alpha. Men are always also expected to have their shit together all the time, know what they're doing all the time, have a plan, be motivated, be ambitious, be passionate, competent, decisive. Always in a clear state of mind, always focused, never lose your mental equilibrium, always stay stoic, and never emotionally disbalanced, and of course never be like a woman, never be crying and moaning and whining about anything ever. We do allow men to get away with a lot of errors, but that is only to say that we are quick to forgive forgiving men and defending them when they go wrong, but I'm talking about the standard that we hold men to, the default standard we hold average men to. We're also always thinking about like lions and wolves and big dogs, right? When we're talking about men, like we're not talking about cats or deer, right? That's sort of, in fact, that's even sort of an abuse or an insult, in a way. Not in my opinion, just in general. The expectation of society. Let me just establish, I don't hold men to the standard, but yeah. Right, so these traits are all great traits to have, but the issue is that one cannot have all of these traits at all times and at the highest degree that's expected. The way that a society is built is essentially it's a race to the top, and no man can win because the goalposts keep shifting. Nothing a man will ever do is going to be enough by the standards that we're holding men to. In fact, even if a man sincerely strives to be this ideal man, he will never achieve it because the requirements are faulty to begin with. There's always going to be a richer man, always taller man, always a hotter man, always more muscular, always someone with a deeper voice. But the thing is, that doesn't stop all men from desiring to become number one. And the main problem arises when men expect themselves to be alpha and strive to be that, but they don't have the building blocks and the foundation or the journey that builds a man in this way, right? It's a very intentional road to becoming all of these traits, and it's often not necessary. And then society evaluates a man's worth cross-referencing these ideals that are set. Alright, so all of these expectations, combined with a lack of compassion towards men, creates this perfect environment for healthy masculinity to become toxic. And so toxic masculinity is not meant to imply that the idea of masculinity is inherently in itself bad. It is this amped up, this distorted form of masculinity that is toxic. And right, and men should be men, women should be women, anyone in between should be themselves, right? The issue is that there is no gendered way to look at any gender. There should not be a gendered set of ideals, a set of traits that are associated with men or women or anyone in between. It's just when things are taken too far, right? And men are put under, or women are put under gendered pressure to adhere to these standards. One of two things will happen. Number one is a man will actually, in the worst case scenario, there are two worst case scenarios. Both of them are worst case scenarios. One is that a man is actually able to achieve toxic masculinity, this hyped up, this hulked up version of it, and then he develops a god complex and he thinks he's the leader and he's the king and everyone else is a beta fucking cuck. And the second worst case scenario is that a man is not able to achieve that, and so he starts thinking, oh shit, I'm unworthy, I'm a loser, right? And the issue is that these two ends of the spectrum are so wrong and so bad for men and for people and for everyone that only later on in life a man realizes, or sometimes maybe even never does realize, that a man doesn't have to be one of the two, or he doesn't have to actually strive to achieve these ideals. He can just be somewhere in the middle with, where he does strive to be better, and he also does have the humility to understand that there is room for improvement. And that's healthy masculinity. Healthy masculinity is not like believing that, oh, I have to be wrong, I have to be right all the time and I can never be wrong. And it's also never this sort of, I don't know anything, I'm so humble, I'll just lay down on the tracks and and people will just walk over me because I hate being having this narcissistic god complex type thing. It is somewhere in the middle where you're open to improvement and you're able to acknowledge what your strengths are, and at the same time you are also humble and open to acknowledging what can improve in you. That's healthy masculinity. And right, I went into like a whole tangent, but yeah. Okay, so so masculinity is well, not masculinity, but toxic masculinity is so detrimental to everyone because males form at least 50% of the society of the world, and men have been socialized to believe that their opinions have to be heard, which is not a bad thing. It's just their opinions are the loudest, and the reality of the world is men still run the world, and that's just the reality of it, whether you can accept it. Maybe you can't accept it, but men do run the world. Men are some of the richest and most significant people on the planet, and there's so much space for that sentence that I just said to be misconstrued. Okay. Should I take that back? No. Okay, leave it. Let it be. All right. Let's let that be. But yeah. So, let's see. Where was I? Referring to my script again. Right. And so, the world is dominated by men still, and any world that is dominated by toxic or rigid gendered views have very little forgiveness for softness, gentleness, and as a result, women and children, and also humanity. And we do need more softness and gentleness in the world, and the world evolves to become more harsh and unforgiving, and that's not good at all. Every man does suffer from some degree of toxic masculinity or the expectations that are associated with it. You'll see this impacting you in arranged marriage, sort of like the filters that impact like height, or for that matter wealth, your salary, or who is most assertive in a group of friends, right? And it does seep into every aspect of your life and our lives. And the issue is that men who feel emasculated become dangerous, more so than women who don't feel feminine, because men are socialized to also default to or be more open to violence, and that's not good, because aggression, violence, dominance, there might be a place where that's good or that's required or that's relevant, but it's not on average, right? In most situations it's not. And whenever there's a sort of power structure where there's an alpha or a leader, there's also going to be betas and cocks and lesser people, slaves, right? And this power struggle, no one wants to be the lesser, right? So as a result of allowing there to be a leader who is a dominant, rigid leader, it's so coveted that anyone and everyone wants to be that, and they'll do anything to achieve that position in whichever group. It could be in a friend group, it could be in a company, it could be at work, it could be in the family, it could be in random groups of people, it could be on the street while you're in traffic. And most men who feel emasculated will then resort to overcompensation behaviors to prove to themselves that they are masculine and to prove to other people that they are strong men. And that's just not a good place to mentally, emotionally be, really. Okay, so now that we've established that masculinity is good, toxic masculinity is not good. Masculinity does not necessarily refer to only males. It could also be, it's also present in females. It's just a way to speak about certain traits. And femininity, feminine behaviors are also present in men, feminine traits are also present in men, and it's good to be a healthy mix of both. In the next part, I will discuss what is the mentality behind toxic masculinity, and basically how it's created, how it's caused. Alright, if you stuck around this long, I'm so grateful. Thank you for being with me. I love you so much. Bye.